This is a short video about partitions of an interval and about gauge functions. So what's a partition of an interval? And so throughout this, I will be this interval that's closed. So I get both endpoints, A and B. So a partition of an interval is a collection of subintervals, and each one of these subintervals are closed also, so they have brackets. And I want the union of those subintervals to be AB, and I only want to allow them to maybe overlap at the right endpoint and the left endpoint of like the next consecutive interval. And I'll try to be a little bit more precise about what I mean by that. So how could I describe each of these subintervals? Let's say the subinterval I sub I looks like x sub I minus 1 is the left endpoint and xi is the right endpoint. So like when I denote this, I'm looking at the right endpoint to count. And so in particular, I want A to be like x0, that would be when I is 1, and I'm gonna let these points here just be strictly increasing until I get to B, which I'll take as my last one, xn here. So again, in would be my last subinterval. I'll draw you a little picture here in a minute. What I'll do is I'll call these dividing points x0, which is A, but then x1's an x1, blah, 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 up till I get to B, which is xn. I'll call each of those the partition points of the partition P. So what's a partition? Take your subinterval from A to B, chop it into a bunch of subintervals, however you like, so long as there's not a bunch of overlap between them. So here's my picture here. So like this first one is the interval I1, and then the next one from x1 to x2, I'll call that I2. There's no requirements that they have to be equal length or anything like that. Just chop this interval from A to B however you want, and then you've got a partition. So the next concept, before I get to that, so note also, what if you didn't chop AB into any pieces at all, right? Well then this partition would just have one set in it, just AB itself. That's fine, that's still a partition. So we'll call that the trivial partition. So in other words, the set A, or the interval AB, I can consider that as a partition of itself, no problem. So the next concept is, what if I was to pick a point, and I'll say Ti, just pick one point Ti from each of these subintervals I sub I. So then what I'll do is I'll consider this as like an ordered pair. Subinterval, comma, that point Ti. If I do that for each subinterval in the partition, then I'll call this a tagged partition of I. So in my picture, I've copied and pasted the picture above, and now I'm saying in each subinterval, however you like, just pick a point, and I'll denote that in purple. So if I consider the subintervals in the partition with these tag points, or another word for that might be evaluation points, you'll see later on, we'll call this a tagged partition of the interval from A to B. So let's do an example. So I've got this interval from 0 to 1, and let's say my partition is 0 to a third to 3/4, and 3/4 to 1. So I tried to pick this so that they're not equally spaced intervals, right? There's 3 of them in there. There could be 179 in there. Who cares? That's a good partition of I. And so what did I do? I'm just chopping 0, 1 into some different pieces, and that's it. So what's the next thing I could do? What if I decided to go in each green subinterval and just pick a point? So let's say the first point that I pick is 1/4. The point I pick in I2 is 1/2, and the point I pick in I3 is 4/5. Then I'll call those tags, and now I've got a tagged partition of the interval from 0 to 1. So if I do that extra step and pick those points that are in purple, then I've just got what's called a tagged partition. It's the only difference, partition to tag partition. So now we want to talk about one of the more abstract things in this video is what a gauge is. So a gauge on this interval I, all it is a strictly positive function whose domain is I. So what's it do? How do we relate it to these partitions? Well, if you've got a tagged partition P dot of I, so I've got a tagged partition, so there's a lot of baggage that goes along with that, right? If you've got a tagged partition, what have you got? You've got a bunch of subintervals of AB, but then you've also gone to the step of picking a particular point in each subinterval. So that's what you need to be thinking about when you hear this frag tag partition. And if you've got a gauge, so you've got a function from I to R, we're going to describe this partition as delta fine if the following happens. The subinterval II should be contained inside of this new closed subinterval, which what is it? It's like a closed interval that's centered at the point Ti, where the radius of that closed interval on each side is delta Ti. And so this should happen for each subinterval. This is a very, very weird, difficult thing to think about when it's written abstractly, this definition like this. So I thought it'd be good to maybe try to do an example. So I've got my same interval from 0 to 1. I took my same tag partition as I had above. And here's a function that is strictly positive on 0, 1. Delta x is x squared. So that's That satisfies being a gauge, right? That's a gauge on this interval I, just a strictly positive function. So now what I want to do is I want to think about, is this p dot, is it delta fine for this function delta? So how would you check that? I need this to happen for each subinterval in the partition. So what I need then, p dot's delta fine if all of the following happen. Number one, the first subinterval in my partition is within this window around that tag 1/4. Number two, the second subinterval in my partition is within this window of the tag 1/2. And number three, the third subinterval in my partition, the last one, that's why I have 3 here, is within this window of the tag of in that partition there. So what we'll do is we'll check each of these. So I need all the following to happen, all of these to be true, in order to say that p dot's delta fine. So if one of them is not true, then this interval, this partition rather, is not delta fine. Well, let's look at the first one. So let's actually simplify this. What's delta do? Oh yeah, delta just squares the input. So this is the same thing as 1/4 minus 1/16, and this is the same thing as 1/4 plus 1/16. And so I get, this is 3/16 to 5/16. So is it true that 0, 1/3 is contained in this interval? No, like this interval in orange doesn't have 0. So already I could tell you, I could stop right here and say this p dot is not delta fine when delta is x squared for this function. So what am I saying to you? All right, it depends on what delta is. I hope that you see that. So it's not delta fine for this delta, but maybe p dot's delta fine for some other function. Maybe you could cook one up. Just for completeness though, just to show what I'm doing, I'm just gonna go ahead and simplify all the rest of these intervals here. And you see that, well, I mean, at least it does work for the next two, right? If you simplify this, it comes down to 1/4, 3/4. And yes, it's true that 1/3, 3/4 is a subset of 1/4, 3/4 here. And then by the way, for the last one, if you simplify this one out, I think that you should get 4/25 to 32/25. So you're asking yourself, is it true that 3/4 to 1, is that a subset of 4/25 to 32/25? And yes, that's true. But again, overall, because you found one that didn't work, therefore all of them did not work, we would say that p dot's not delta fine. And so there's my example there. So what are we trying to do? I'm making this little orange window 3/16 to 5/16, and the point is that does not completely contain the subinterval I1. So if something is delta fine, then again, each subinterval has to land inside of that window around the tag. And I hope that that maybe better emphasizes what this definition is trying to say. Each subinterval has to be inside of that window around the tag ti of that subinterval. And the last thing I want to tell you about is just a result that's useful for a little bit later on. So if p dot's a tag partition of I that's delta fine, and if x is just any point that's in I, then there exists some tag ti in I such that the distance between x and ti is smaller than or equal to the value of the gauge at that point ti. So how would the proof of this go? So I get to assume that x is in I. So x is in this interval, I say is from A to B, and I've got a partition. I get to start with that too. And so there should be some subinterval in my partition that contains x. So maybe I'll call it I sub I. So in other words, if x is any point that's from A to B here, and you've got a partition of A to B, then x has to land in one of the subintervals. So the subinterval it lands in, I'll call that I sub I. So what have I got? I've got x sub I minus 1 is the left endpoint of II, and I've got x sub I is the right endpoint of II. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the fact that, well, I get to assume that my partition is delta fine. Therefore, this green interval should be contained in the window around the tag. And so whatever the tag is, which is ti, right? And so I'll introduce that in a second. So p dot's delta fine. So therefore, ti, remember I've got a tag partition, so I need a, there we go. So for II here, it's got a tag. Let's say the tag is here, ti. And by the hypothesis that this is delta fine, I know that the window around ti minus delta ti has to be over here, and ti plus that has to be somewhere over here. And how do I know that? Because by hypothesis, I know that the green interval has to be contained inside of this orange interval. Again, that is because this partition is assumed to be delta fine. So therefore, I should have this happen. I should have the green interval contained, that's not green, is it? But I think you know where I'm going for. The green interval should be contained inside of this kind of cool coral burnt orange color interval here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to unpack this a little bit. So what do we know? Well, x is an element of the green interval. Therefore, x is an element of this orange interval. So I'm going to write that down here somewhere. I guess I've got some stuff to erase. But that's the idea so far. So x is definitely an element of that orange interval that I just erased. Now we're just going to unpack what that means. So that means x is between the left and right endpoints of that interval. Left endpoint, right endpoint, x is between them. What we're going to do is we're going to subtract ti everywhere. And so I get negative delta ti is less than or equal to x minus ti, which is less than or equal to delta ti. And now I recall that this can be rewritten as an absolute value inequality. Think about college algebra there. That tells me that the distance between x and ti is smaller than or equal to delta ti, which again is exactly what we were going for.